Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 8. Let's go.
Dang.
What's your name?
Monica.
Monica, why are you here? What's wrong with you?
Probably a lot, honestly.
So, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Why are you here?
What?
Okay. Okay. It's a little concerning, right? I think particularly because I figure someone's a jerk face. Well, let's watch more, but it's particular that you right off the bat would potentially insult someone, right? Now, if he follows it up with, well, let me tell you what's wrong with me. I got a whole slew of things, so watch out. Or, maybe he's just one of those radically honest people or something. But I think it's a little bit of a flag. But, who knows? Let's continue watching. Well, before watching, I guess I should define what sort of flag it might indicate. And I can't know, of course, but the top hypotheses that are rising to the top in my head right now would be that he has hostility, that he has a hard time suppressing, and it sneaks out in moments when it's not really sensible to do so, or he's extremely insecure, and when he meets in the pods, there's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of thoughts. One of the feelings and thoughts has to do with, oh no, what if this person doesn't like me, right? It'd be normal it would be rational to have that thought and that worry. And for some, they have a hard time coping with that. They might even be in complete denial of it and will try to establish dominance. And maybe he's the nicest guy on the planet, but it is a bit of a flag. It also could be a flag regarding negging. I'm guessing young people, how old is David? 32. People his age probably don't remember the pickup artist mystery whole thing about how you neg people, neg women in order to, meaning you put them down as a way of putting them on their heels, so then they have to impress you and it puts you in the driver's seat so you can bag more babes. Literally, that's one of their proposed techniques. So I'm guessing it's not that, but let's watch.
What's wrong with you?
Why Love is Blind?
Oh man, to be brutally honest, I just have kind of been an ass to women in my previous dating life. I really wanted to confront myself about that.
Okay, it's established. David's the villain. Well, who knows? But I'm trying to think of a possible green or neutral flag about what he just said. Let's rewind it.
To be brutally honest, I just have kind of been an ass to women in my previous dating life.
Let me take notes on that. So I have been an ass to women in my previous dating life. I'll add the possibility that he's trolling and he is intentionally trying to amplify or literally just make up a persona so that he gets more airtime. Some people, I think, do that on at least other reality TV shows. I'm thinking back to like Shake from season 3, I think. We don't know, but there's some indications of that. There's no indications here yet because I literally have just like 2 or 3 sentences that he said, but it's all, the editor is choosing. But right from the very first second of at least 3 dates, he would say, why are you here and what's wrong with you? I mean, at the very least, break it up and ask different kind of questions. Last time we saw someone have a montage of the same question every time or the same approach. Wasn't that, what's his name? From season a couple, I have America wrapped around my finger. So anyway, didn't he do something like that? I'm guessing a lot of them have fairly repetitive things that they would say because they're meeting 15 people in a day and it's hard to come up with a completely new way of saying hello or having a first question. I'm curious, one of the hosts said that they have more cast members. So I wonder how many that is. It doesn't look like that much more than 30, if it is more than 30. But anyway, so I have been an ass to women in my previous dating life. So I think there's I'm trying to see the positive in this. If there is positiveness or a lack of a red flag, then he would have been a jerk face. He now can see that. He's been through a crap ton of therapy and not necessarily, but likely, and recover from whatever traumas were getting in his way and resulting in him being hostile or being an ass. Who knows what he means by that? I'm going to guess and say that the women in question would say more flowery language, because if he's saying he was an ass, I'm going to take a guess and say that those women wouldn't say, "Oh no, he wasn't an ass." A little bit, but not. I'm just going to take a guess and say that he's minimizing. So God knows what he's referring to, but the fact that he's saying it is interesting. Is this a strategy to come across as brutally honest, or to differentiate himself or something, or to attract? To attract a potential partner who has a history, maybe even a childhood history of having to be codependent. And the definition of codependency, listen to my deep dive. I actually looked into a lot of the ways people use codependency in that deep dive. And most people, especially lay individuals, use it incorrectly. People use codependency as another word for being overly dependent, but that's not what codependent means. Codependent is an overfunctioner, is a better way of briefly thinking about it. Someone that is, because of their early childhood, they believe their only worth is to take care of someone who is struggling somehow, whether it's with addiction, that was the traditional codependency, or with a personality problem, or with an anger problem, or with a mental illness, or with financial problems or something like that. And so this codependent person feels like that's their only worth. They don't have any other worth. And they will design relationships to be like that because they need it to be. Otherwise, they feel worthless and scared. And also, they'll be attracted to underfunctioners. So, but let's keep an eye on it. I'm going to take a guess and say that everything I'm saying isn't relevant. I mean, I'm going to take a guess and say that this isn't the end of David being a jerkface, but maybe not to the villain level.
I just have kind of been an ass to women in my previous dating life. I really wanted to confront myself about that. I work in medical aesthetics.
Okay, so there's a little hope there. I wanted to confront myself about that. Okay, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
So I'm surrounded by Botox, fillers, facelifts, tummy tucks, butt lifts.
Hello.
Hello. That has affected me in terms of what a woman should look like. I mean, it was always about looks right away for me.
What's your name?
Okay, so I took notes on what he said there. Maybe it's not important that I take notes on this, because sometimes several episodes in the future I will remember that a cast member said something and I don't remember the exact thing that they said, and I will misremember. So I want to make sure that I have these little snippets down. So he says that basically because he works in what he's calling medical aesthetics, which the layperson term that I would use would be plastic surgery, that he says it was all about looks to him. I don't know if that's connected to him saying that he's been an ass. I don't know.
Dave.
I'm Lauren.
There's none of that included in this experiment. It's testing me that am I that guy? I guess I still don't know. I guess we'll see.
Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with someone going on a show with that question, but from experience, that doesn't usually work out very well, right? Although I guess, I don't know, because remember Clay and AD, Clay would say that, and depending on your opinion, some people would say that Clay never was intending to challenge his superficial preferences, whereas others would say that he tried and he succeeded, and or he didn't really need to face that because AD was very attractive, or I don't know. Anyway, but we have seen others on this show, I'm trying to remember who off the top of my head, who would say things like this and then later on, once they met their person, then the question from the audience anyway was, were they actually attracted? And if they weren't, then why would they go on Love is Blind, particularly since they knew they had that tendency? So there's, at least editing wise, there's multiple, at least yellow flags.
I'm 32.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay. So you're no longer attractive.
Oh my God.
Even if he's not a jerk face, that's super dickish behavior. There's jokes, and then there's that. I mean, if he had a jokey, pleasant, warm presence, and in the midst of that, he would joke around and maybe cross the line occasionally, then maybe. But from the very first 30 seconds, he's already saying stuff like that. And he's not saying, oh, I'm joking, or sorry, I'm a little dumb with my jokes, or I don't know, I have a hard time. He's not having any caveats. He's not softening it at all. I mean, that literally just didn't even look like a joke. It literally sounded like he was judging. And then on the tail of him in the one-on-one interview saying that it's all about looks for him. And I'm just going to take a guess and say that people who work in that medical specialty don't necessarily become, at the very least, assholes, but also don't necessarily need their partners to look quote unquote perfect. So there's all, yes, geez, we're only like 15 minutes, 10 minutes into this episode. Usually, I feel like in a number of seasons, by the time everyone's leaving the pods, I'm thinking there's no problem with any of these individuals. Everything's on the up and up. That's happened a few times, not every time. But this, I don't think we've ever had a scenario where right out of the gate. And it's notable on this level because in previous seasons, at the very least in the first beginning of the first dates, the asshole, hostile behavior doesn't usually manifest to be included in the edit, right? Aside from that one, I can't remember his name, but from a couple seasons ago, the America Wrapped Around a Finger guy, he was a bit, at the very least, interesting in the first few dates. But let's rewind this, and I'm glad that the other individual here isn't laughing. Previously, when he would make those hostile jokes, they would laugh, and arguably, maybe it is a more funny of a joke. But she doesn't look like she's laughing, and she deserves to have a normal, non-placating reaction. But let's rewind.
I'm Lauren.
There's none of that included in this experiment. It's testing me that am I that guy? I guess I still don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm 32.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay. So you're no longer attractive.
Oh my God. Should this be the first date that I walk out on? It might have to be.
Yeah. He didn't follow it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just joking. I do that. Or, well, I don't even know. I'm just trying to think, how could one recover from that? Do you say, I believe that, how old did you say she was? I believe that 30-year-olds can be pretty too. You've put it out there, and disgusting. Just ick. I don't care what happens from this point forward. Do you?
I'm joking. I have my own OnlyFans.
Are you serious?
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'll be a little nicer to you.
Okay, I think we've literally seen another villain of the show. I'm using the word villain. I'm not super comfortable using that term. We've seen other individuals that the audience didn't like. From my memory, someone else made that joke. Some other dude made that joke. I can't remember who it was. But, ick. Just ick. And then they're focusing on him. So does that mean that he makes it to the getaway? Well, I guess we'll have stuff to talk about.
I have my own OnlyFans.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an OnlyFans. There's a lot of different reasons why people would have an OnlyFans. When I started to take off in YouTube popularity 5 years ago, OnlyFans actually reached out to me. You know, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but they were trying to get me to move from Patreon over to OnlyFans because at least back then they were trying to change OnlyFans into like Patreon, not just for pornography and for sex work. Also, there's nothing wrong with him being a sex worker. There's nothing wrong with him providing pornography or foot pics or whatever. You know, it's consensual adult sexuality. I celebrate.
No, I'm kidding. I'll be a little nicer to you. Why are you here?
I'm super close with my family.
I'll be a little nicer to you. Ick. So who knows? There's a lot of possibilities. I'm sure that people would speculate or strongly claim that he is a narcissist. There's no indication of that. It could be, but there are other hypotheses regarding labels in the DSM that we could apply. There's not enough information, of course, but at the very least, I think what people might wonder is if he has a desire to harm and or a lack of care of other people's feelings. Who knows, but let's watch.
People promote that like women should look a certain way.
Yeah.
Like I've been a very shallow person. Mm-hmm. I used to like try to, dance around that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I just have, and that obviously has not worked.
Right.
I really don't want to be that way at all. Mm-hmm. I know I'm way better than that.
Okay, so I'm going to take notes on this because I think it might be relevant, so I'm going to pause. Okay, so I took notes on that whole segment there because he's saying a lot in that, and they're playing the heartfelt music underneath, which makes me wonder if the editors are trying to prime us for him actually changing. It's hard to imagine because in his overall presentation, which is just a small bit of his behavior, so who knows, but in a small amount of time, if you already have all of these red flags, what does that say? Who knows? But he said, quote, "I've been a really shallow person. I used to try to dance around that a little bit." I don't know what he means by that. Dance. Does that mean he was trying to hide it or he's trying to avoid it? Or he was not acknowledging it. It kind of sounds like he was trying to hide it or he was trying to accommodate. I don't know. Then he says that obviously has not worked. I think he is referring to how he is on the show and he hasn't found his person yet. And then he says, "I really don't want to be that way at all." So that sentence is in line with some of the other things he was saying, and that is a little bit of a thumbs up. I mean, it's in the right direction. But then he ends it with, "I know I'm way better than that." I don't know, but that's an interesting phrase. There are other ways to finish that off, right? Of, I want to be better than that, or I want to grow up, or I want to find my person. And if I'm going to do that, then I can't have only one box to check on my list of criteria when it comes to people. That has not worked. I'm being real clunky, but you see what I'm saying. I know I'm not only better, but way better than that. Okay, so who knows? But maybe he means by that sentence that he knows that he is not okay on the inside and he knows he has potential. Okay, but to say I'm way better than that could be an indication. Who knows? I'll just tell you what I would be thinking if I had a client that had presented this way. It'd be weird if I had seen any of this behavior in my office, but just port all this over to what someone like him might do in the first session. And this isn't uncommon that I'll have someone with a particular personality profile that I will later assess with enough data that in the first 5 minutes or even in the first 30 seconds, they will neg me as a therapist, which is fine. I'm not going to fight with people about things or take pride, hopefully. But I will note that when they sat down, for example, I'm trying to think of a common thing that they might say. Someone with his profile, who knows, I can only speculate, but people that I've treated, and I specialize in people like this. So they would sit down and they would say, I'm remembering a handful of people, and they would say something like, oh, quaint office, or, oh, I used to have a couch like this in college, or something. When you compound several little things that occur to the individual, one, and two, that they actually say, and three, that they don't qualify it with something, it says something. Then later on, from those clients, I would assess and conceptualize the individual as having such a deep and profound insecurity that when they feel little dips in their value, even to themselves, they need to very quickly adjust for it. So who knows? I don't know about him, but I'll tell you what I wonder about when I see this behavior clinically. That he says things that are a flaw, a weakness, something that he thinks isn't laudable, something that he wants to change. But it's interesting, even as I say that one could receive from his statements here that he considers himself, in the past anyway, of a certain level or something that he could be picky regarding people's looks. You know what I mean? I don't know. But he's talking about how he is having a problem. And then there's a statement of, I know I'm way better than that. Who knows? But it's possible that that was amped up because of the massive amounts of insecurity that he is experiencing on a second-by-second basis, which is no joke. The individuals that have that amount of insecurity, there's a lot of different ways to cope with it. Some ways of coping involve leaning into it and just giving a vibe that you're worthless and that you think of yourself as worthless. But another way of coping is to get out ahead of it and overcompensate. And, we'll keep an eye on that. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Tune in next time when I continue watching this show. I'm excited to find out what happens, and take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.